60 weekly webinar. My name is Mike Greenfield. I'll be your host for this webinar. Today's webinar will cover some advanced animation techniques. I'm going to show you how to knock down a power pole, and if we have time, I'm going to show you how a rider of a motorcycle can separate from the bike and go off in a different direction than the bike does. So what we'll do is we'll cover a couple of those things. I'm recording the webinar, so they'll be listed on our website for future view if you want to take a look at them. So there's no need to take any notes or anything like that. So first of all, let's knock down a power pole. Get right into it. I'm going to bring up some kind of a Google Earth image here so we can knock down a pole. Let's say there's a pole on the corner of this intersection and a car come and knock it down. So let's say there's a pole right here, and I'm going to go get a pole. In our model library, we've got plenty of poles. I'm going to be actually in the lights area here. So let's knock down this guy right here. Let's say there's a pole right here. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to create an animation path for that pole. So let me see the pole here. There's our pole with got a light on it. We're just going to knock it down. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to create a small little animation path. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to add an animation path, just a very small little path. Let's see here. How do I want to do this? About right here. Okay. So now I've got one segment, one little segment. So on the second segment, we're going to go into advanced properties, and for pitch, if I look over here, which way do I want it to go down? Yeah, that's a good way for it to go down. So I'm just going to knock it down to 90 degrees. I'm looking over here. So there's the pole 90 degrees. So now how fast do I want it to go down? I'm going to start it at 0, and maybe we'll get up to 20 miles an hour. And this is kind of that's a little fast. Let's go 15. Still a little fast. I just want to see what a good speed would be. That's getting better. There, that's pretty good. Let me go 5 miles an hour. I think it's probably going to knock down faster than that. Yeah, there you go. That's pretty good right there. So there's your knockdown right there. So now what I'm going to do is have a car. If a car, ends up running over there and hitting it, so let's go get a vehicle. And I might have to add another segment, but we'll see here. Let's go get this car here. And let's say he comes over and he just rams and hits the pole right there. Okay? He's just going to hit the pole. So what I really need is I need another segment. I need to go from here, and then the car is going to go just a bit further. Tiny little bit further, not much. Because you have to have that second animation path, because you have to sync it. So we're gonna go right here, and let me back this car up, and we can back him up so he doesn't go very far. He just hits the pole. And maybe the car will even spin around a little bit, because sometimes that happens too. We can take care of that. About like that. That might do it. All right, so we're going to have the car come in at 25 miles an hour, and then we'll go from 25 to 0 on this one here. Let's go from 15 to 0. Lose a little speed there. Okay, and we'll give it a sync position right there. Now on our pole, let's make sure we go get at the pole. Let me get the pole here. There it is. And let me see if I can get in my animation path here. Let me see. I need a second segment here. Let me try the sync one here and see if that works. I believe I'm going to need another one, though. It's probably going to go down first. That'll be fine. There we go. So that pole just went down. Now I spun around the car here. Let me go and get this car so it doesn't spin so much. Where's my orientation here? Yaw. Get this back and spinning here where it should be. Let's see here. Is that going to do it? Let's just make it 0. I got too much rotation here. Hold on. This one here. I can find it. There we go. Let's move it out. Let's adjust it accordingly here. Bring it back. Get these adjusted just how we want them. And use these grips because that'll help you whether it's going to spin or not going to spin. There we go. Just like that. So there's our car coming in, hitting the pole, and knocking the pole down. And if anybody has any questions, type your questions in your question box area there, and I'll be happy to answer them. So that's a little bit of an advanced animation there, knocking a power pole down. You can do the same thing with a tree, you know, basically anything that's in the animation in the model library. You can adjust its orientation to knock it over. Now, let's do something else here. What if you want the car to go airborne? Right now, we've got defaulting the cars so that they will stay on the ground and follow the contour of the ground, whether it's a flat picture like this or whether it's our digital terrain modeling where you adjust the surface to be, you know, follow some total station points. But if I've got a ramp here, and I'm just going to build a ramp, and I'll show you how you can make these cars follow go airborne. So let me build a ramp right here. I'm just going to take a line like that. All I'm going to do is take a line. I'm going to go into 3D here, and I'm going to adjust one of these ends up. We'll put it up about 8 feet. I have a nice ramp. Then I'm going to duplicate this, slide it over, so we make a nice ramp. And then I'm going to go in, you know what, I'm going to lock down my Google map here. I'm going to go and surface between these two lines and create my surface. So there's my ramp. So if I want a car to go up over that ramp and I want to land, you know, clear the intersection, for instance. So we can go get a car. Let me go get this BMW here. And I'll start it right here. I'm going to go up the ramp, and I'm going to end the segment there. And then I want it to come over to here, hit the ground, and then go off. Well, if it does that, look what happens. And let's get our speed up to 60 miles an hour so that it can do this. Now, if I run the animation now, watch what happens. It stays on the ground because that's what it's programmed to do. But we can unprogram that. Let me click on this path here for a minute. I want to slide this guy back just a little more right there. Okay, so for this segment right here, this one, I don't want him to be on the ground. I want him to go airborne. So you go to Advanced Properties over here. You drop down to Terrain Follow and uncheck the box. Click off of it, click back on it again. Now you have your elevation grips, and you can grab these and move them up. go ahead and what I'm going to do is click on this. I'm also going to make terrain follow off there too. Click off of it because you get a little bit of a, see how that car is angled like that? Well, we can fix that just like that. Just move it just a tad, it'll fix it. So there's how we want the car to go. So now when I hit the animation button, hit play, the car is going to go and jump and end up down on the ground and keep going. So just a little way you can make the vehicles leave the ground if you've got something that's airborne. All right, let's do, let me see if there are any questions here. Anybody got any questions yet? Nope, not yet. Okay, if you have one, just let me know. I'm going to do, let's see, let's do a motorcycle with the driver leaving. He's going to lay the bike down. Okay, so I'm going to go get my motorcycle. And what I want is I want a bike and I want a separate rider. Now you can use any of these motorcycles. I've got one right here. Here's a Kawasaki. And I'm going to start him right here. And I want him to go, and right here I want him to lay it down. I want him to lay it down right here. You see something in the intersection, something's going on. He's going to lay it down, and the bike's going to go to right there and stop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the bike do this first. So the bike's coming in at 40 miles an hour. And then he's going to go from 40 to 0 on the second segment. Now he's also going to yaw the bike, and he's going to put the bike down on its side. So now if I run this animation, the bike's going to come in and go on its side. And you know what? I might even want it to go a little bit further on its side, so I'm going to add another segment to this. So it slides on its side a little further. So we'll go into here. First of all, let me go into there. Let me go to Advanced Properties. I've got a yaw of -63 and a roll of 90. So I need to start my next one at -63 and 90. So I go here, and I'm going to make it -63 and 90. And I'm going to keep it at -63 and 90. It's good to type this stuff in. That way it's all good. And I'm going to have it roll just a little bit more like that. There we go. So now when the bike comes in, he's going to roll down, and he's going to slide to, oops, I didn't do a speed. Let's go 40, and let's drop down to 35, and then we'll go 35 to 0. So there we go. Comes in, and then it just comes to a stop there. Maybe I'll even knock it down more. Let's go 30. 30. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So the bike slides to a stop. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bike, click on it, I'm going to right-click, I'm going to change layer, and this is going to be called Motorcycle, MC. Now, I need to go get my rider. So I'm going to go into my Models library and get my rider. I've got a rider here somewhere, right here. And we're going to put this guy on the bike. No animation path. No path at all yet. Let's put him on here and make sure he's where we want him to be. You can also even use one of the posable models and pose him and put his legs wherever you want him, etc. Just for time, I'm going to put him like this here. Okay, so there's my guy. Kind of a big guy here. There we go. Now, all I have to do, I'm going to put my guy on his own layer. Change layer. This is going to be rider. Rider, before impact. Okay. Now, I'm going to click on my path here. Right-click, copy path. Now I'm going to click on the rider. Right-click, paste path. So now I have, this rider is going to stay with this bike the whole time. Watch. And he stays with the bike. Now I don't want him to stay with the bike back here. Okay? From here on, I don't want him to stay with the bike. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into my layer manager. I'm going to lock down the motorcycle because I do not want to click on that path. Because otherwise I'll make that path go off somewhere else. So let's take this rider and let's say that he goes off over here somewhere. And he doesn't go as far. Okay, he's not going to, usually the bike's going to go farther. Of course, unless the bike hits something. So let's shorten this a little bit. And we'll shorten it. Okay. Now watch what happens now. So now there's the bike and the rider separate. But I don't want to see this sitting guy over here. I don't want to see the guy that's sitting. I want to see somebody else. I want to see a prone guy. Okay? There we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring a prone guy here. I'm going to go into my models library. And let's see. How about, that's a posable guy. How about, well, we can use the posable guy. Let's do that. Let's pose this guy. So I'm going to put him here, and I'm going to pose him first. So I'm going to click on the pose button. And let's say that we want his arms down. Like that. Maybe one of them up. We want him to land kind of like that on the road because he's going to be all screwed up once he lands. All right, so now let's unpose him. And now this guy is going to be on his own layer. And that's going to be prone guy. Add to new layer. So now what I'm going to do is I've got an animation path already. Let's go ahead and click on, let's see who's turned on and who's not. Our only layer here is this one. So this is our, is this the right one? Yeah, this is the right one. So I'm going to copy this path. And I'm going to go put this guy right over here with the bike, right-click, and paste the path. So now we've got all three of them going at once. So when I run the animation, it's going to look kind of weird, but they're all there. These two guys are connected. So what I want to do now is, let me go into the layer manager. Who's our, for this, our rider, I don't want to see him on the last segment. I don't want to see him on the last segment. Okay. Now, actually, I'm going to do the last two segments. Now let's go to our other. Let's unlock. Let's lock down rider before impact. And let's go to prone guy. That's our prone guy. We don't want to see him on the first segment. Okay? So now, when we run the animation, see what happens? Let's go in here, get this guy, and we want to make sure that he's on the ground. Okay? And let's go ahead and uncheck the terrain follow, since we might want him to go up in the air or do whatever we want him to do here. So he's going to go maybe bounce up in the air a little bit. And we're going to adjust him, maybe screw him around this way a little bit. Make him hit the ground. Let's see how he looks now. Let's take a look at him. Oh yeah, so he's going to bounce around, and we can have him roll. We can have him do a lot of things here. Let's make him roll a little bit. Okay. Any questions? Okay, let me see what kind of questions we have here. I think I got some here. Okay, I see your question, Robert. It's a whole different scenario. I'll try to get some time to get into that in a minute. I'm talking about this making your rider come off and go in a separate place. We can make this guy go anywhere we want him to go. You know, whatever the path suggests that this guy did, maybe hit something, flew over a car. You can make him come off and go wherever and end up on the street. Just a little bit of advanced. This would be the same procedure that you would do if you had a person ejected from a car. Just put them on different layers, turn the layers on and off, etc. Okay, there's a rider going down and you know, laying it down and separating from the bike. Any questions on this one? The two animations that I've shown, the pole falling down and the rider leaving the motorcycle. Okay, we've got some comments that we like the different layers. It makes it easier because that way you know what item that you're animating you're selecting on. Just go into your layer manager, and if you don't want to select the prone guy, you lock him down. If you don't want to select the motorcycle guy, you lock him down. Rider before impact, if I want to get that guy, I unlock him, and I make him visible or invisible, depending on whether I want to see him or not. Okay, we've got a question on syncing. It says, I always get confused when syncing. Can you do an example of adding an item to an existing animation and then syncing them? Sure, I can do that. Let's let me think here now. Let's say that well, I've built this animation too quick here, or too involved. Let me get another animation out here. I'm going to go bring up intersection here, one of my favorites. Okay, so if we've got, if I want to crash a couple cars, let's say I've got a car that is just going to go through this intersection here. And I'm going to skid let's see. Let's say I'm just going through the intersection and I come up to here and I see something, I'm going to skid, and then I'm going to get hit and end up over here. Okay? So I'm going to straighten up this. Always straighten your paths. Whoops. Hold on. And you know what you need to do? You need to go click Allow Instant Rotation there. That helps that. So I'm going to straighten my animation path here, and then I'm going to straighten it here because I want the cars to go a certain direction. And I want the car to end up like that. So I don't have anything sync yet. So let's go 40 miles an hour to 40 on the first segment. We're going to start to brake, so go 40 and we'll brake to 30. And then we're going to hit something. We'll lose some speed and we'll go 20 down to 0. Okay? So there's one animation with no syncing. It slows, he gets hit, and he ends up over there. So now let's bring another car in and sync it. So I go get my second vehicle, and let's say he comes in here, and he's going to hit this guy, and he's going to end up over there. So now I don't have any syncing on this yet either, and it's coming in after the fact. So let's go ahead and get on this guy right here. I'm going to put this guy right there. And I want him to hit right here, and then I'm going to add a position. He ends up over here. Okay? So just a simple crash. Straighten up the path, straighten out the car, and then let's say this car comes in at 35, and then he goes from, and maybe lose some speed, go 25 on out. So the path you want to sync is the path from impact. So you don't want to sync this one. This is not from impact. This is going up to impact. From impact is this path right here. You sync that one, number one. Now, we're going to go to this path from impact here. We're going to sync that right here. It happens to be the third segment on this one. Now, once we sync them, then they're going to hit OK. And they go in and hit fine. So I hope that answered your question. I hope that example was good. Okay, I'm going to jump back to this other scenario suggested earlier, a car yawing on the street, continuing through a yard or grass, sliding sideways, furling, flip, and hitting the ground while rolling. You know, I do this all the time when I demonstrate this stuff, and I don't know if you've seen it. I use the total terrain also, and let me do that again. A lot of you may have seen this, or if you've taken a class, you've done it in the class, but it's exactly what this scenario is. And this is probably from somebody who hasn't been in the class. I don't recognize the name. But let's do it. I'm going to go in and get my hill here. And this is more of a little bit of an advance, but we do it in the class, so it's not too terrible advanced. It's real simple, actually. Let's bring the, whoops, I don't want that. I want to get rid of that. Bring it in. So there's my road, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in some measurements to create this this image in 3D. Okay, we'll bring those in. Let me paint them a different color so I can see them all. And all you do is line up these with the where the total station was and where your landmarks are in the photo. So everything seems to be lined up pretty good. Let's go into a 3D view. Let's create it. Let's turn off the measurements. We don't need them anymore. Okay, so there's my three-dimensional surface. Now I'm going to have a car come down the road, yaw. He's going to yaw off the road. He's going to hit this ditch. He's going to flip over onto his roof. Maybe flip all the way over onto his wheels again. However we want to do it. However the evidence says to do it, actually, is what it ends up being. So I'll go get a vehicle, and you can get any car here you want. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to have him go off the road here. He's going to yaw, furrow through the grass, hit the ditch, and roll over and end up right there. So you can make him yaw right here. He's going to start to yaw. Give him a little bit of a yaw there. We'll click on this. Let's do some speeds here. Let's say 65 to 55. Now we'll go to the next segment. We'll yaw him some more. So he gets to right there. We'll go 55 to 40, and we'll make him furrow through the grass. Turn on some skid marks. And then the last segment here, we'll yaw him a whole bunch more, and we'll roll him 360 degrees. And that's all there is to it. Run the animation. It's actually pretty simple. And he rolls over. And I need to check my speed here, 30 to 0. And you look in 3D, it comes up really nice. He rolls through there. This is one of the projects we do in our class. But since you brought it up, I'll do it again. But there he hits the thing, and we can make him roll. We can make him jump up in the air. We can do lots of stuff with him there. Okay, it's time for any questions. I've done, a few advanced animations here. Any questions pertaining to the animations that I've done? Make a tree fall down. You can make a power pole fall down. You can make a car go airborne. You can separate riders or passengers from vehicles. All you have to do is create separate paths for them. And the copy path, paste path feature is real easy because you just make sure that you copy the same path initially, and then lock the other path down that you don't want to touch, and just keep your path of your rider, your passenger unlocked, where you can move it wherever he ends up. Okay, we got the question, what do you check? What can I always check? Hold on here. What can I always check with my animations when they are not on the ground? Okay, when you click on your animation path, once you click on the path, go over to Advanced Animation Properties, and down here on the bottom, Terrain Follow. If that box is checked, you will always be on the ground. If that box is unchecked, then you can make it be above the ground if you want, or it could be below the ground, so you have to watch out for that too. If I uncheck it, then you have to click off the path, then click back on the path, and you'll get your elevation grips for that path. Those are those blue triangular grips. So I can make this car go airborne here if I want. See that? I made him go airborne after he hit the ditch. Now if I run him, he's going to hit the ditch and he's going to go airborne a little bit. Okay? So this box down here, Terrain Follow, that's the one you want to check. How do you show a vehicle going through a wall? Well, do you want them to just pass through the wall, or do you want them to knock the wall down or whatever? I mean, if you want them to knock the wall down, you're going to have to get something out of the library that you can animate that's similar to a wall. And I'm looking, what could we get here that's similar to a wall? Vehicles, signs. Now, these barriers are items in there. So let's go ahead and get one of these barriers, and I can put this right here. Now see, it can be animated. See that? It can be animated. So let's say I want to hit this barrier. So what I'm going to do, let me just put it out there first, and I can size it. Right now we have a length. Let's make it, let's say we're going to go through this barrier right here. We're going to knock the barrier out of the way with a car. So I'm going to go get this car here and get rid of it. And let's go ahead and get a vehicle. Might get a truck this time. Get a big old Bronco here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to come down here, I'm going to hit it, and I'm going to end up over here, and the barrier I'll put somewhere else. Okay? So let's move this car so it just hits the barrier. Okay? It just hits the barrier. And then the truck will go down here. So let's say the truck's coming along at 30 miles an hour, and then it's going to go out at 25 down to 0, and we'll give it the sync position. Now the barrier, let's right-click, add an animation path. Let's go to right there. Now we have to turn it now. We've got to get it back to where it was. Let's go like this, and let's go like this. And maybe we knock it like that. So what speed did the car go afterwards? We'll make the barrier go the same speed. Give it a sync 1. Now let's see what happens. See if I did it right. There we go. Now I need to go a little bit slower with the car because I kind of went through the barrier a little bit. So let's go, let's take this and let's go 23. There we go. We pushed the barrier out of the way. Well, you know what's going on is because the barrier is turning. So let me make it 20. So I hope that answered your question. You have to use something from the model library that you can animate as the wall. And you can make the size of this, once you put that barrier out there, you can make it any size you want. Just click on it and go into properties. Is there a way to produce an animation log showing the vehicle speeds, location, and heading for discovery? Absolutely there is, and I got your email about that, Don. I was hoping you'd ask the question here so everybody could see. Right here, once you click on the path, like I'm going to get the path for this car here, it's right in here. It's Print Animation Report. So I click on that. There's your animation report. It's going to tell you this is for the car only. You have to do one for each item that's animated. So you have the time is the first column. The next 3 columns are the coordinate location of center mass of the item. Then you have yaw, pitch, and roll, whatever it is, and then you have speed. And this is for every quarter of a second throughout the animation. You just scroll through the pages. It'll give you all that information all the way through, and you can see there's several pages. But you get a line of data for every quarter of a second. This animation looked like was 5.85 seconds. Can you make a pedestrian hit by a car fly into the air? Absolutely, Al. You definitely can. The same way that I put the that other pedestrian. Exactly the same way. All you do is click on the path you want him to leave the ground. Click on the path you want him to leave the ground. Go over to Advanced Properties and uncheck Terrain Follow. Then click off of it. Then click back on it again, and there's your elevation grips, and you can make your pedestrian go up in the air just like that. Okay? And if I run this thing, you'll see it's going to go up in the air after it hits just like that. Of course, this car is not going to do that, but your pedestrian certainly would. Okay, how about the data that was entered by the user? Is that about your animation? I'm assuming it's about your animation. You're talking about this data down here on the bottom, because that's the only data we entered. You talking about the data here, the speeds? Yes. Okay, well that's in there. That's in there. If you go to, let's go to Print Animation Report again. We have, there's your speed, 30 miles per hour. That was the data that was entered for that particular segment. And if you go on, you can see where on this next segment, it went from 30 on down. Actually, it went from 20. It went from 20 down. So it started at 1998 because that's where it was at that instant, 19.98. So then it goes down from there. That's where your data is entered right here, your speeds. Okay, Don? The last column here is where the speeds are. All right. And this is for the Ford. Obviously, you'll have the same type of a deal for the animation of the barrier wall. You can print animation report here. There's my speeds right here. It's 25 the whole way through. It only had one segment, and then it started. Once it got hit right there. It got hit right there, and that's where it started to lose its speed. Now what you also can do is you can actually, instead of print the animation report, you can export the animation report as a CSV. If I click on that, and I'll put it on my desktop, and I'll call it animation report. If you want it in this format, it's an Excel format. So when we go in here, I get this Apple stuff. Here's my animation report right here. If I double click, it's going to open up Excel and give me my animation report in an Excel spreadsheet. So you have two ways that you can get it. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if there are no more questions, thank you very much for your attention in this week's webinar. And we'll see you, we have one next week? Yes, we have one next week. And check our website. The subjects are we're starting to list those now, and people seem to like that. So, if there's something that if something that you already know, then maybe don't want to attend, or if something you really are interested in, and you want to make sure that you register for that. And if you have any suggestions on any future webinars, we're open for those too. If you want to see how to do something, send me a quick email at mgreenfield@aris360.com, and I'll make sure that gets up on our website. Again, all our webinars, we're going to record them, and they will be there so you can view them at later dates as well. So have a good week, and thank you very much for attending.